Today show that 25,000 migrants have already crossed the English Channel in 2025. This is the earliest point in the year that milestone has ever been reached. In 2024, for example, it took until the end of September. And yesterday alone, 898 people crossed on 13 boats. Rosie, I mean, that's not smashing the gangs, is it?
No, undeniably those numbers are too high. I know this is a concern to my constituents. It was a concern during the general election campaign.
Well, more concern tonight.
Yeah, and rightly so, but we've only been in power a year, and what we've seen over the last 6 years is these illegal gangs have grown to an industrial scale, and they are smuggling gangs, but we have always been clear that this is an issue that we need to address at the root cause. The Borders Bill is currently going through Parliament, so those counter-terrorism powers haven't come into play yet, but what we have done is got a deal with France, that one in, one out deal.
Negotiating a deal. The deal doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, negotiating a deal with France, and those counter-terrorism powers will come into play, and that is how we get these numbers down. It's addressing those root cause. We've sent back 35,000 people who don't have the right to be here, but undoubtedly there's more to do, and those numbers need to come down.
So Jacob, have you got sympathy with the government? Turns out stopping the boats is actually quite hard.
Very limited sympathy, because I think they've been naive that when they got into office they thought it was easy, and that the Tories hadn't done it because they were too lazy, whereas in fact at least there was a plan. Rwanda was there. Labour immediately got rid of it without having anything else in its place, and we know that Rwanda was already acting as a deterrent. People were going into the Republic of Ireland rather than Northern Ireland because they were worried about Rwanda. They then changed the law. So under the last Conservative government, arriving on a small boat was in itself illegal, and you will notice the terminology has been changed to irregular migration from illegal migration. That gives people the feeling that if they get here, they'll be able to stay, and we need deterrence. So I think Labour's been weak, and I really wouldn't pin my hopes on the French. I'm afraid we've all been down that route. We've all given lots of money to the French, and the French don't manage to take back or stop anything like the number the Belgians do.
You said at the beginning there that you think Labour's been naive, but hasn't Rishi Sunak himself said that his pledge of stopping the boats was something, he didn't use the word naive, but he made that sentiment?
Well, I think you should have shown a bit more backbone. Donald Trump has shown you can stop illegal migration, but you've got to be
by sending people to El Salvador.
By sending people to El Salvador. Depends how determined you are. And it may be that you don't have the appetite to do that. It may be the British people don't have the appetite to do that. But to say you simply can't do it is defeatist. You can do it. Trump's got it down 91% decline in illegal migration across the Mexican border in April by enforcing the law and making it clear that there are deterrents. Alligator Alcatraz may not be your or my cup of tea.
His new detention centre.
His new detention centre in Florida. But it's effective. So the choice for governments is, do you do things that are effective, or do you just wring your hands?
Yeah, Rosie, what's your take on the fact that Trump seems to be getting more results than Keir Starmer?
Well, I don't think we've ever said this is easy. We recognise that the issue is there is no quick fixes, and with Rwanda it cost £700 million and only sent volunteers. And I think it's funny how all these things were going to work, but then there was a general election called, so it just didn't have time to start working. But we have been clear that this needs to be addressed at the root cause. That's how you stop this for the long term.
Let's have a listen to somebody who's witnessing this every day, because Matt Coker is a fisherman in Dover who frequently spots small boats from the deck of his much larger boat, the Royal Charlotte. He filmed a group of migrants being rescued by an RNLI lifeboat yesterday and sent us the footage exclusively. This is Matt describing what has changed in the channel over the past few years.
It did get to a point where it was sort of a slow and steady, just a few boats each time we had calm weather, and now it seems it's gone back to what it was sort of 2 or 3 years ago, where when we get a calm day, there's a real push, you know, for the French to sort of get them across. I think there's obviously more people leaving the beaches, and they're struggling to keep up with the amount of boats that are all leaving at the same time. Yesterday was a very calm day, and it was forecast to be very calm as well. It's the calmest day we've had for quite a few weeks now. So everybody expected there to be a big number of boats crossing. But I think even the border force were a bit overwhelmed because, you know, by the early morning, the border force were all tied up with picking up people arriving on the small boats. And I think they've run out of boats to pick them up with. So then when this happens, they then employ the RNLI or draft in the RNLI. And then by midday, we had 4 lifeboats from all round this coast, all heading out to assist the border force. I think it was Dungeness lifeboat, Dover lifeboat, Walmer lifeboat, and Ramsgate lifeboat, all out there helping. The problem is because the migrant boats are now being escorted across by the French, they are leaving in rougher weather because they know they've got the safety of the French sort of patrol boat with them. And the problem with this is that when the border force get out there, it's very difficult for them to pick them up when the weather's bad. So they're using the RNLI, who are more experienced at picking people out of inflatables and even out of the water. They're trained for it and everything. So I think that they're having to use the RNLI just for the safety side of it, really. I can totally understand, and lots of my fellow fishermen, they all understand that the RNLI, it has to go out and aid people who are in peril on the sea, and we all agree with that. I think what we find difficult to agree with is quite often they're not in peril. They've got a French patrol vessel right alongside them with all the safety equipment on board. They're being monitored by the airplanes in the sky and also by the border force, and you sort of feel like, would there be a time when the RNLI are out rescuing or retrieving these migrants when somebody else gets in trouble? Would they be available to assist with that? And